strongly about all these people. We'll make sure that we can do this. So I want to invite up to the stage a guy who has filled the breach, who's come back to the rescue of the Iowa Democratic Party, and that's our great chair, Scott Brennan, the greatest United States Senator we've ever had, Tom, and his lovely wife, Ruth Harkin, Hillary Clinton, and
hosts a farm team of the Cubs.
Yeah!
There's just something perfect about all of that. And I want to join everyone in thanking all of you for supporting the State Fry. As Tom said, if it hadn't been for you, we might not be celebrating the 37th State Fry, because you have sponsored it and supported it and enabled all the thousands of people who come to it to have that steak and salad and to meet politicians from Iowa and all across the country. Now, I also have to thank quickly Tom Vilsack and Tom Harkin for hawking my book. I think Tom Vilsack actually held it up. And it was a pretty good deal. I owe them $3. But it's aptly named because we do face some hard choices. And I think there are some really good choices in this election, particularly here in Iowa, and we'll have more to say about that in the State Fry. But I heartily echo the sentiment that with all of the wonderful outpouring of support for Tom and Ruth as they end their elected career in Washington, the most important way of honoring Tom is by electing Bruce to be his successor. And Jack Hatch to be the governor, and 4 Democratic members of Congress, including the first woman elected. That's going to take a lot of work over the next 50 days, but I have no doubt that if everybody in this gathering, plus the thousands at the State Fry pulled together, that will be the best tribute that anybody in Iowa could give to Tom by having an election that validates his vision and his values over the years. We've had a tremendous relationship with Tom and Ruth. I've admired Ruth for so many of those years. The first woman elected a prosecutor in Iowa, and going on in such a distinguished career, including serving in Bill's administration. And I did work with Tom, both as First Lady and then as Senator, because when we were working on health care back in 93 and 94, we had no greater champion or more creative advisor than Tom Harkin. And we also, when that was not successful, immediately went to work with Tom and others, particularly the late Senator Ted Kennedy, on making sure that although we weren't able to reform our healthcare system completely, that we could take care of children. And so the Children's Health Insurance Program admired and learned a lot from Tom because he immersed himself in what the National Institutes of Health were doing. He wanted to know what the latest research was, what the latest science happened to tell us about better health. And he was the first elected official who came to see me in the White House to say, you know, we should be doing more science to determine whether some of these really ancient kinds of programs, like acupuncture, for example, have scientific merit. Well, nobody was talking like that at the time. And it was Tom Harkin who put into motion the beginning of an office at NIH to do just that. And we are beginning to see results, taking the very best of Western modern medicine, integrating with alternative treatments and remedies. And then for 8 years, we served on the Health Committee, Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions, the real heart of Tom Harkin's service. And in every one of those fields, he was a leader. And he pushed the agenda forward. And he would bring legislation to the floor no matter who was in charge in the Senate, and he would make a case for it. And just as he was saying about the long struggle, really going back to Harry Truman, that culminated in President Obama's success with the Affordable Care Act, on so many issues, Tom was in the forefront, laying down the record, making the case. I watched that with such admiration because he was not a short-termer. He was there for the long term. He understood what it was going to take to make the changes that would help the people he cared about here in Iowa, across the country, and indeed the world. So for me, this is a bittersweet time. I have to say, as an American, I really will miss having Tom Harkin in the Senate, turning on C-SPAN, seeing him holding forth during the winter in those sweaters that he wears, making a strong case, being the champion that he has been for 40 years, but he's earned the right to take a deep breath and to think about new ways of serving alongside Ruth and so many of you. So I am here to say thank you, but not to do a valedictory, because I would imagine, knowing Tom and Ruth, that there are more chapters in the Harkin story as well. Let's elect his successor, let him retire, maybe take a few days off, and then start reaching out to put Tom and Ruth to work again for Iowa and for America. Thank you so much.